Nora, you produced a short documentary about what it's like growing up Jewish and female in this day and age. You interviewed a number of young Jewish women. What were some of the responses?
Well, the responses were actually surprising because I went into it thinking that the girls would talk about sexism, they would talk about being female, and what they talked about a lot was anti-Semitism. Interestingly, they didn't know the word initially because the research project, which lasted 5 years, went from age 10 to age 14, so 10-year-old girls don't know that word. But when I asked them if there was anything good about being Jewish or bad about being Jewish, and good about being a girl or bad about being a girl, they began talking about people who don't like Jews and how distressing that is for them. And they said very moving things. One girl said, I don't think we did anything bad to hurt them. I don't know why they don't like us. Throughout, you heard this refrain of trying to understand why some people don't like Jews. And that was very shocking for me, I have to say. Didn't anticipate this at all.
Why do you think they have these feelings?
It's the real world, In the first year of the study, that happened to be the same year that there was this weekend from hell in Toronto, where in one weekend there was a cemetery desecration. There was a whole neighborhood, a whole set of streets where there were swastikas painted on doors, and there was a synagogue firebombing. And so the girls who were interviewed after that weekend, which was about half the girls in the study because it was in March, they were very affected. And actually when I asked the girls, if perfect life was 10 and a terrible life is 0, what rating would you give your life? Of the girls who I interviewed that year after that weekend, over 40% lowered their score. They'd say, well, my life is great. I would normally be a 9, but I'm going to say 8 or 7 because people don't like my people. So that was, needless to say, very disturbing.
What did you find that some of the particular challenges are facing today for young Jewish women? What are the challenges they're facing today?
Well, the perspective that my research took, the conceptual framework, one might say, in academia, was a Jewish feminist perspective, which looks at the dual oppression of women and girls, Jewish women and girls. It parallels all the women and racism, the multiple oppression feminist theories. And in the case of Jewish girls and women, of course, you're talking about sexism and anti-Semitism. So what happens is for Jewish women and girls, because previously I did a national study of Canadian Jewish women, and I found similar findings. I found it was all about anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitism was the real finding, and its relationship to depression, actually. So what you have a population that, like Jewish men, experiences anti-Semitism in the wider world. And unlike Jewish men, they experience sexism in the wider world, like other women, but they also experience sexism within the Jewish community, which is supposed to be their safe place. So ultimately there's more than just a dual oppression. There's this multiple oppression. And then when they go to talk about it with other girls, say women of color, anti-Semitism isn't taken seriously. So in many ways, it's not unique, and in other ways, there are unique elements to the word oppression. I know oppression is a strong word, but really that is what we're talking about here.
Did you find that there is a discernible difference growing up as a young Jewish woman today as opposed to even 20 or 30 years ago?
I think so. And actually, when I say I was surprised by the findings, part of that is because I was born in 1952. And I don't know, you're younger than I am, but for people of my generation, we really felt, and I don't think we were being naive, there was evidence supporting this worldview that anti-Semitism was mainly a thing of the past. The war was over. We were in North America. We weren't in Europe. I can barely remember an anti-Semitic experience, and I didn't live only in Jewish neighborhoods. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. I didn't go to a parochial school. The girls growing up in this that I interviewed, and it wasn't a random sample, it wasn't that kind of research, but it was word of mouth, and the girls were from different economic backgrounds. Half went to Jewish schools, half didn't. They were from different religious backgrounds. I had girls of all stripes and different family compositions and cultural differences. But they spontaneously brought up Israel. I never asked about Israel or the Holocaust, and they over and over brought up Israel and the Holocaust when giving examples of anti-Semitism. And I found this fascinating. To me, it showed that they've clearly identified that the new anti-Semitism pertains to Israel, that that is the current language of anti-Semitism, and that anti-Semitism past has to do with the Holocaust. There was this sort of anti-Semitism past and then present and future. And it was remarkable if you're talking about girls who were 10 and then 11, 12, 13, 14, okay, that's already older, but 10-year-old girls got what this was about. They knew exactly what this was about. They were very smart girls.